Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the AM Report for Haps News, the network of now. I'm Alex Mahajer. It is Monday, December 21st, and today, at long last, we have a coronavirus relief package. We've got a lot of news about Georgia ahead of this January 5th runoff election, and Senator Kelly Loeffler's under fire again this morning after renewed attacks by religious groups who she's consistently finding herself in trouble with. We are covering this and all of today's top headlines on the AM Report. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the AM Report. I'm Alex Mahajer. If you're watching this on the Haps app, website, or platform, click the award button. Let us know you're enjoying it. Or if you're watching on Reddit, Periscope, YouTube, Twitter, or wherever you're watching the program, Periscope, of course, is on its way out. So come on over to Haps. Leave us a comment, and we'll read it and bat around with you live on air. We've got a lot of people joining this morning already. Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Wesley Martinez, for subscribing. Good to see you. Welcome to the broadcast. And we've got a lot of headlines to cover this morning, so let's jump right into that. Finally, or perhaps thanks for nothing, the Congress has reached a deal on a COVID-19 relief package that includes, it's $900 billion. It includes $600 stimulus checks for most Americans and additional $300 per week in unemployment benefits. I'll note this is a steep decline from what Americans got earlier this year from the $1,200 check, and the $300 unemployment benefits are only if they exhaust all other unemployment options in their states. So here's to the traitors who launched. The Republican Party was apparently fighting to include a tax break for the so-called three martini business lunches in this package. So the tax deduction is for people who have corporate lunches, and it's expected to cost the U.S. billions of dollars in tax revenue. Just another slap in the face from the GOP. Senator Mitt Romney from Utah is ringing the alarm about the recent cyber attacks that happened against the United States and our federal agencies and companies, saying that it could potentially cripple electricity and water systems in the country. And he slammed Trump for not condemning Russia. In fact, Trump has raised the specter of doubt about this and has claimed that it could be China. It could be China, which is something he did during the 2016 presidential election. He claimed that China may have been behind the attacks on our elections. Let's hear a little bit from Senator Mitt Romney about this on Meet the Press yesterday.
You made a very impassioned plea for the president in particular to speak out, the administration to speak out on what was going on with this Russian hack. Secretary Pompeo did do that. I imagine what the president tweeted about China is not what you thought needed to be done. What do you make of the president's decision, I guess, to speculate on an alternative theory?
Well, you're absolutely right. I was disappointed in the president's comment, but I think we've come to recognize that the president has a blind spot when it comes to Russia. And the reality here is that the experts, the people who really understand how our systems work and how computers work and software and so forth, the thousands upon thousands of the CIA and the NSA and the Department of Defense have determined that this came from Russia. And it is an extraordinary invasion of our cyberspace. And the implications of this, as Tom Bossert, who was President Trump's if you will, advisor with regards to Homeland Security, he said, look, right, you cannot overstate how serious this is. I mean, they basically have the capacity to know what we're doing. They even got into the agency that's responsible for our nuclear capacities, for our research with regards to nuclear weaponry. This is an extraordinarily damaging invasion, and it went on for a long, long time.
Went on for a long, long time, says Senator Mitt Romney, the only Republican impeachment vote against Donald Trump this past year. Gosh, it's been only a year. Can you believe? Feels like eons ago. But speaking of Trump, we got some more headlines this morning. Trump is, of course, the sorest loser. He's filing a new Supreme Court petition asking the U.S. Supreme Court to reverse 3 Pennsylvania Supreme Court cases related to mail-in ballots. And he's asking as his remedy in this case for the court to overturn the will of the people and allow the Pennsylvania General Assembly to pick its own slate of electors. I'll note that the electors across the United States have already been selected and cast their electoral college votes. This happened on December 14th. So this is already long over. I don't know if this is just theater from the president, but he's also been rejected by the Supreme Court twice already and has lost more than 59 lawsuits with regards to elections challenges. The European Union, a lot of the countries in the European Union are blocking flights from the United Kingdom over a new COVID-19 mutation that apparently spreads very quickly. So this mutation of the virus spreads very quickly. New York Governor Andrew Cuomo is asking for the Trump administration to ban travel from the UK or require mandatory testing to prevent from this new rapidly spreading strain. Apparently, the strain is not more deadly. It is just it spreads much quicker. So it's something to be looking out for ahead of our Thanksgiving, or excuse me, our Christmas. What is it? It's 2020. What is time? Ahead of our Christmas vacations. Quote vacations this weekend. Everybody stay safe, mask up. The public health officials are recommending that we not congregate for the holidays this year, and perhaps for the best until everyone who wants to be vaccinated is vaccinated. If you're reading this, do you plan to be vaccinated when it comes up? Let's see. We got some comments chiming this morning. A lot of people are pretty upset about this 3 martini tax break that the Republicans fought for. OMG, I was thinking about all their expense accounts on the Hill, says Mama Robin. And I'll note most Americans got a $600 stimulus check for if you make over $75,000 a year, that will be phased out. While these guys fought to get tax deductions for corporate lunches, which oftentimes some of these corporate lunches will equal $600, the equivalent of a stimulus check for one person in the United States. So it's pretty wild. Let's see. Showtime, Dwiz, the Senate let Trump stay in office. Why are they crying now? That's fair, but I'll also note that Romney was the sole Republican impeachment vote. And I'll also note was the only person in history to cross party lines to vote to impeach a president of his own party. So let's see. This is scary. Will the vaccine be able to combat this new strain? I am not a medical expert, but my understanding is there are not concerns about protecting from COVID. The vaccine will protect against various strains and mutations of the COVID-19 virus. But I'm not hearing any news yet that the new vaccine, either the Moderna or the Pfizer vaccine, will be ineffective against any varying strains or mutations of the virus. But that is just my layperson's understanding, and we would need to make sure we have a medical expert confirm that. Yep, Michelle says there are people getting evicted and they want tax deductions for their martinis. Yeah, and they fought for it. They fought for it hard, and Democrats ended up agreeing to it in order to get child care tax credits. So as with everything, the negotiating on the Hill leaves much to be desired. U.S. politicians are crooks, says a Reddit user. Let's see. Yeah, U.S. politicians are crooks. I'll note that not all of them. There were a lot of recently elected members of the House in the 2018 and 2020 election campaign cycles who did not take corporate PAC money, and that should be the standard moving forward. I'll also note that those almost all of those candidates were Democratic candidates who refused to take corporate PAC money. And we talk a lot about why Democrats didn't do as well in the 2020 election, and I think you can look to dark money and corporate PAC spending, and when Democrats don't take corporate PAC money, they are also going to be at the risk of being less funded and lose elections. So this morning, Senator Kelly Loeffler, let's get into our main story for the morning, is in a little more hot water after over 100 Black pastors from Georgia have written an open letter condemning her attacks on Reverend Raphael Warnock, who is her Democratic challenger in this January 5th Senate runoff election. And this isn't the first time Kelly Loeffler has found herself in hot water. She has actually been criticized by Jewish advocacy groups as recently as last week after she was seen photographed with former KKK leaders and white nationalists. Of course, she says, "I never knew that person. I didn't know what they stand for," but she's consistently found herself in trouble. Now, she has made a campaign tactic out of calling Reverend Warnock a radical liberal and a socialist liberal and trying to tie his social justice work to radicalism. And if you need a reminder, here's Kelly Loeffler during their debate a couple of weeks ago. This is a supercut of every single time Kelly Loeffler called Reverend Warnock a radical liberal or a socialist, or brought up defund the police as a campaign tactic. Here's Senator Loeffler.
You know, Chuck Schumer said, now we take Georgia, then we change America. I'm fighting for every single Georgian to live the American dream. Chuck Schumer of socialism, the American dream. Radical liberal Raphael Warnock, the American dream. Radical liberal Raphael Warnock. Radical liberal Raphael Warnock. Chuck Schumer's radical agenda. Defund the police. Marxism, socialism, and Marxism. Radical liberal Raphael Warnock. I'm here working for Georgia. Defund the police. Radical liberal Raphael Warnock. Chuck Schumer. Radical liberal Raphael Warnock. Radical liberal Raphael Warnock. Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi of the American dream. I started filling out a time card when I was 11 of the American dream. Radical liberal Raphael Warnock, the socialist of the American dream. Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer. Radical liberal Raphael Warnock. The American dream. Socialism. Radical liberal Raphael Warnock of the American dream. Socialism. Defunding the police. Chuck Schumer is radical liberal Raphael Warnock to defund the police. Radical agenda of the abortion on demand. Radical liberal Raphael Warnock. Radical liberal Raphael Warnock. Defund the police. To defund the police. Defund the police. The American dream. The American dream. The American dream. Socialism. The American dream. The American dream. Chuck Schumer. Radical liberal Raphael Warnock was socialist.
Everyone involved in tonight's production sends their condolences to the Loeffler campaign.
So that's not just during the debate. That's just been her tactic. That's her campaign tactic, is to call her opponent a radical liberal and hope that it sticks. Now, this letter just came out, commenters saying take out the batteries, and that was, yes, Tim, yes. A lot of people were saying this on Twitter, that she's a robot, he's malfunctioning. But, you know, look, this campaign tactic has prompted this open letter from a coalition of African-American pastors in Georgia. They're blasting Kelly Loeffler for her attacks on Warnock, and they're saying it's an assault on broader faith traditions of Black communities and congregations. And so the letter reads, and I quote, "We see your attacks against Warnock as a broader attack against the Black church and faith traditions for which we stand." The letter demands that Kelly Loeffler stop her, quote, "false attacks on Warnock's social justice, theological, and faith traditions." And it says these traditions visualize a just and, quote, "just and ardent world where love, fairness, and equal justice under the law for marginalized people of all races is not only accepted as an authentic prophetic message in the tradition of Dr. Martin Luther King, but also a central message of the gospel of Jesus Christ." The letter also attacked Kelly Loeffler for her support of President Trump and his baseless voter fraud claims in his attempt to overturn the presidential election. The letter goes on to say, quote, "What can be more radical, more seditious than supporting 59 attempts to overthrow the will of the people by tossing Black votes?" the letter asked. So this is an open letter against Kelly Loeffler. She's in trouble with these groups. And I'll note more than 1.4 million Georgians have already voted in the runoff election that's coming up. In-person voting day is January 5th. 1.4 million voters have already either voted by mail or voted in person early. So we're nearing record. This is definitely a record for a runoff election, and we're nearing the same levels as the November 3rd general election that happened just, it feels like a year ago, but it was just last month. So voters are turning out, and thank you, Pablo de Ahoya, for the Super Heart Award. A radical liberal, says Imperfect Bieber with a heart. If Warnock's a radical liberal, well, then so am I. A lot of interesting news, and Reverend Warnock has responded. Here's a tweet from Reverend Warnock saying, "My faith is the foundation upon which I have built my life. It guides my service to my community and my country. Kelly Loeffler's attacks on our faith are not just disappointing, they are hurtful to Black churches across Georgia." And also, Reverend Warnock is the pastor at the Ebenezer, at the same church where Martin Luther King Jr. was a pastor. So, he leads with his faith. He's a man of faith, and he also believes in social justice, and that's tied into his faith. Michael says, "I love your Christmas tree. Thank you so much." Thank you so much. This has been the AM Report for HAPS News, the network of Now. We are live every weekday morning at 7:30 a.m. Pacific, 10:30 Eastern, with all of your quick political news and headlines to get your day started right. If you like this journalism, if you like this content, please consider sponsoring it or subscribing. Visit me at haps.tv/@Alex and purchase me a cup of coffee, or subscribe to the content so you can get a notification every morning. And when you do, you get 100 free coins. You can award it midstream and let us know you're enjoying it, just like Pablo. Thank you for the award. Thank you, Christopher Drago, for the Appreciate You award. I very much so appreciate it. We will see you all tomorrow morning, and have a fantastic Monday, everybody.